Hello and welcome to a new tutorial here on Visual Effects Hive Evolution. Today with a new great tutorial about some nice tree asset you can get on the internet page digitalalchemist.com. So first of all, I want to mention that this asset is used by Houdini. And Houdini is one of the leading visual effects, animation, games, and VR softwares created by SideFX. And I also want to mention that SideFX has an awesome support when you get into some problems with Houdini and when you are stuck and when you don't know how to make a solution. So get to the support and they really will help you making your project or whatever you create in Houdini very helpful. So for the asset, when you purchase it on the web page, you will get some predefined tree here at the beginning, and you click on the Geo node in Houdini, and here we have the asset. So the asset pretty much is containing some seed operator. So the seed is changing the overall look of the asset pretty cool. So we will get some different result while changing the seed every time. And this is pretty much a good choice when you want to make different vegetation or tree for your production. So changing the seed is always a nice feature to think about. So as you can see, the seed changed the structure of the whole tree fairly important. And this is what makes this asset very powerful when it comes to generation of trees for every kind of project. We can also have control over the branches and the leaves, where we are able to also change everything accordingly to a leaf angle ramp. So changing the first value will make the tree looking different. And you can see the whole distribution of the leaves here is fairly different like from the beginning. And we can change the leaf size to something like 0.3. And as you can see, the result is, depending on your machine, pretty quick. We have leaf random size. We can bend the leaves across. And this is giving you pretty cool results for your tree creation. We also have the ability here to change the branch, like the levels of the branch. So I'm changing the seed also to 5. And you can see that the result is also very different from the previous one. So for the trunk, I want to make the trunk fairly high, like a very tall tree. And this is calculating with a for each loop the L levels of the tree. So here we have some taller tree with a different leaf appearance, and we can change the segments, the texture frequency, and can use also gravity. So it's a lot of fun to play with the different settings, and the asset also ships with different materials you can use for your appearance of the tree. Here we have the leaves. So it comes with an opacity map, surface, diffuse map, and also bump normal can be activated for your tree here. And how is this looking when it's rendered? Just for all those who are fairly new to Houdini, Houdini is using its own render engine Mantra, but you can also use RenderMan or Arnold or Redshift, whatever fits best to your production workflow. So I'm using Mantra, and to create some Mantra rendering here, I go up to the Render tab, create a new render node, which is Mantra. And you can see in your tab here, when you go from object level to the out level, that we have here an IPR, Mantra 1 and Mantra 2. So I'm choosing Mantra 2 in the Render tab, go to Render View, and here you have in the Render View the ability to choose out Mantra, which is the same as this level here. And I also want to create a new camera. So click here in the viewport, go to new camera, and you can see that also Houdini created a camera 2 node, and we are now able to specify here the resolution also. I'm using HD now. You can change the focal length and the clipping and everything you need to make your shot and picture ready. So in the camera tab, I'm choosing camera 2. I also have some light in the scene, which is created in the light tab, lights and camera tab up above here. We can use the skylight and see what it looks. So I'm using the preview mode to speed up the rendering. And as you can see, Houdini is generating the scene accordingly to our geometry preferences. So while Houdini is rendering the scene, you can click anywhere in the picture and hold your mouse button to make a more accurate and specified render region. And in that way you can quickly judge your picture when you create it. So I'm switching from preview to the general rendering, and depending on your machine, Mantra is using the cores of your workstation, and you can see that the tree is rendering here in Mantra. To change the settings in Mantra, you have the possibility here to click on the Out Mantra on this little icon, and we can here go in the Rendering tab and choose our render engine. The render engine is the heart of the rendering. At the moment it's using the ray tracing algorithm, but for our case we will use physically based rendering. Physically based rendering, also known as PBR, is often used when it comes to physical accurate rendering, and it also is possible to change the ray samples, which mean that the camera is shooting rays into the scene, which are then being reflected by the geometry, and as more samples as you use, the more accurate and crisp your image will be. For the noise level, I'm using a very high value to wipe out noise inside the image. And we have also the standard pixel samples here, which give the image a very cool pixel sample quality. So keep in mind that changing the pixel samples is also referring to the speed of your rendering. So the more crisp and accurate your image needs to be, the more render power is put into the rendering. So for the processors here, you can set your amount of processors, you can specify the thread count, you can use every processor except one to keep things more stable. And we have the tile size. The tile size is actually this little bucket here, which is rendering your scene. So for the tree asset, you can see we also can use here different materials. I will now take some other leaf material and will change the look of the tree on the fly. So often people are asking what kind of workstation is suitable for Houdini. You often have to keep in mind that Houdini is a very big packed CG package for visual effects and animation, and you can do everything from modeling to grains to rigid body destruction, fluids, oceans, pyrofx, explosions, crowds, actually everything that is state of the art in 3D. But you have to keep in mind that tasks like modeling and fluids really depend on the capacity of your machine. So modeling takes a bit less calculation power than doing fluids or pyrofx, because it really depends also on your processor and your graphics card in terms of GPU rendering and simulation. So for Houdini, it's always good to have a machine with a high clock rate in the speed, like 3.5 gigahertz or 4 gigahertz, like you have with the new Threadripper processors from AMD. But you also need to keep in mind that the more cores you use, the more RAM you also need to allocate all the different processes from the CPU. So make sure you have at least a fast calculation amount, like 3 or more gigahertz, and that you have also a good graphics card to maybe do different simulations on the graphics card. So I'm using a RTX 2070 Super and a 64 gigabyte of RAM. You can see that the memory here is increasing over the render time. It's just pretty slow at the moment because I typed in so high values for the pixel here, but I will come back later when this rendering is over. So if you should have questions about the specific workstation, just write in the comments and I'm happy to help you with the right setup of your machine for your Houdini workflow, because it can be very confusing from time to time which machine is the best solution for working with Houdini. So as you can see, we now have a different appearance of the tree here with some nice trunk texture and leaf texture, and this is all controlled here in the leaf shop network. You can change the surface here, and in the branch also you could also load in a bump map or whatever you need. And let's do some more creation here in the tree generator. For example, I want to make the trunk now even longer, so I go to trunk and go to growth and type in something like 23. So he's calculating, and we will see that everything now has some different appearance. So that looks pretty neat, really like it. And in the rendering you also can see it's rendering out our tree we have created here. So if you should really need some tree asset that is creating different kinds of trees in the new Houdini 18 version, you definitely should go and get it. It's a lot of fun to play with the parameters and just make different trees, and very cool for a pipeline where you have some vegetation, plants and trees to create. So definitely a lot of cool features here in this asset. Adding some gravity here. So pretty cool results with a few clicks right for Houdini. And I just changed the width of the trunk and it's more massive now. And also what's very interesting is when you apply a wire solver to the model, and you can animate it and make wind and different collisions and whatever you need for your scenery. So everything is very variable and you can change a lot of things. You also could go into the network and create your own nodes for building up this tree asset. So something that really makes fun to play with. So we are at the end of the tutorial. I hope you you enjoyed this little presentation about the tree asset which is available and some render settings. If you have further questions or need some advice, just write me a comment or an email, and I'm really happy to help you. So, thanks for watching. Have a great day and stay safe in these thaw times, and do some trees. Trees are good for the environment, making fresh air. It's good for the soul, relaxing and everything. So definitely something that you should keep in mind. So here's the final image, pretty interesting tree. And always keep in mind you can export your trees also to other packages when you need it for Maya or 3D Studio Max. So pretty robust and dynamic asset. I really can recommend it. So time is over. See you again. Don't forget to subscribe and give us a like. See you soon.